talk about a controversial chapter of a series. I'm not gonna lie, the last day and some change, ever since we got the spoilers at first, and of course now we got the full-on chapter of Boruto chapter 55, man, have I seen, it's been warm. A lot of people are feeling mixed about it. There's a lot of people that are absolutely heartbroken about it. All sorts of opinions across the spectrum regarding the big event with, spoiler alert, by the way, we're going to talk about everything, so if you don't want to get spoiled, go read the chapter, come back, and then we can talk. But with Kurama's death in Boruto 55. Woo! I mean, we were bracing ourselves, right? We knew something was going to come out of this. They teased that it was going to have some repercussions with the Baryon mode. We all thought, well, this is probably going to be the moment of what happened to Naruto. But at the same time, there was also certain circumstances that had certain people skeptical. But I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't think it would be this. I had no idea in my mind that it was going to be a death of Kurama. Naruto was going to survive via that way. It just kind of caught me off guard. And yeah, there's mixed reactions all over the place, but I think the biggest thing is, and I think a lot of people's negative responses to this, whether they admit it or not, is it's just really sad. Like, how many people been with Naruto for a decade plus? You know what I'm saying? There's people that going back to 2005, 6-ish, around there, where Naruto hit Toonami and shit like that. That's 15, 16 years ago at this particular point, that people have been riding with Naruto, with Kurama and shit like that. So to go from that to, you know, the points where in the manga and in the anime, Naruto finally changed Kurama's heart and befriended him and shit like that. To go from those points to where we're at right now and Kurama dying, it's heartbreaking. And I think a lot of people are feeling that way. But there are some major things that I'm not really seeing being talked about much that I am going to dive into regarding Kurama, the future of the Boruto story, and a lot to say because that wasn't the only factors of this one. Code's mindset, where he's going with things right now, there's a lot to digest. Amado, yeah. Without further ado, people, let's talk a little bit of that Boruto manga greatness! R.I.P. Kurama, the nine-tailed fox. I can't believe it.
No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done. No matter how you move, get it done.
Okay, people, so Boruto chapter 55. For starters, we got the cover color page of Code, and I'll be honest with you, if you've been watching the anime the last few weeks, at the very least the last month and some change, you definitely noticed that the anime has had an agenda. And the agenda that I even said, I want to say either in my last video or the video before that regarding the Boruto anime, it started to look like they were building a father-son relationship between Code and Ishiki, Jigen. Obviously in the anime he's still Jigen right now, but I noticed that there was a camaraderie that we didn't really see in the manga, because let's just keep it real, in the manga we had very limited reactions and interactions between the two characters. There wasn't much there. The anime started showing an agenda of showcasing like there's some sort of bond, camaraderie, there's some type of connection there, so to speak, at the very least from either side or whatnot. But the manga didn't have that, and I'm like, well, why would the anime be doing that? We also got the hints earlier on in the month, or I want to say it was late last month, that there was going to be something regarding Code coming into this chapter and the new arc that we're about to be approaching with the Boruto story. But man, the cover page is very, very like, yeah, there's another impactful thing, of course, the Kurama thing, but that is also signifying the future and a big key player in the future of the Boruto story with Code. That, to be honest with you, he was the last one left from Kara. I wish we would have got more from him in the manga leading up to this and foreshadowing, but nevertheless, here we are. Because the chapter opens up with, we see Naruto, he's in the, you know, that mind world of him and Kurama and whatnot. He's just waking up. When I went into this one, because I read the spoilers and I didn't have all the context, I was just a smidge confused on the context of what is going on right there. Because going into this, you got to remember that Naruto right now is thinking that he's about to die. That's the mindset. Like, reading the spoilers, you have a little bit more context, so you're a little lost in the way it's supposed to be presented. But Naruto is thinking, oh shit, it's curtains for me. This must be death. And then Kurama's like, yo, I came to bid you farewell. So Naruto really thinks it's all over. And that's supposed to be the mindset, which is unfortunate. We're reading spoilers that it kind of messes things up like that, so you don't get the full picture and the way it's trying to be, or it was intended to be showcased. But nevertheless, that's what the atmosphere is supposed to be. And it felt a little bit awkward when Naruto was like, oh, well, okay, let's see, you know, final conversation. Well, you killed my mom and dad. Like, yeah, just subtly throw that in there, like a, you know, life-changing altercation where your parents were killed, by this monster. Like, yeah. And the whole interaction, because Naruto is just kind of dumbfounded and taken back. Like, this is shocking. You know, you always plan for something the way you're gonna handle it when it happens, but when it happens, 9 times out of 10, those plans usually go haywire. And Naruto's there like, well, you know, thanks for being around all this time. I appreciate it. Like, yo, fam, this is not that he's going to the store and he'll be back in a day or two. Like, he's gone. He's dying. Or, well, you think you're dying and you're saying farewell, right? So, I don't know. Naruto a little awkward there. But then you start to get a better understanding of what exactly is going on, because Naruto starts listing his concerns. He's worried about Boruto, the village, Himawari, etc., etc. And Kurama's like, oh, well, you gotta handle that on your own, fam, which made Naruto realize, oh shit, what's going on here? Because again, that atmosphere that's supposed to be set forth is that, oh, you know, it's teasing that Naruto's the one that's dying, but then Kurama drops the bombshell. Because basically Kurama tells him, your body's in a state of shock right now, but you're going to survive, you're not going to die. The price of Baryon mode was not you, it was my life. And that's the huge revelation there. And since we got the spoilers the other day, I'm not gonna talk like if we didn't know about this. Obviously going into this chapter we already knew. I've been heartbroken about it. I'm not even gonna lie. And getting this whole exchange, getting the full idea with the pictures and everything, it was just that much more heartbreaking. And something real quick, because it was funny, I told my niece about these spoilers, because she always likes to hear about, you know, the future. She don't really care about spoilers. And she's like, the first thing she tells me is, wait a minute, but isn't Naruto supposed to die when the, you know, the QB gets extracted, the Nine Tails? How does that work? And for people that are questioning that, which is a valid question, like, wait, what's going on here? The reason why Naruto is not going to die despite Kurama dying within him is the fact that the chakra itself, like this giant vortex of chakra, is not getting ripped out of Naruto. It's just basically dissipating. It's evaporating within him. So essentially, the thing that seems to be the thing that kills a Jinchuriki is when you're just ripping this force of chakra straight up out of them. That's kind of what kills them. But if the chakra inside of them just dissipates and evaporates, then it's no loss, because they're not going to get hurt by, again, ripping it all out of them. And I'm not gonna lie, just, again, the whole exchange, so freaking sad. Where Kurama's like, well, you know, I technically didn't really lie to you. I didn't say you were going to die verbatim like that, which, come on, fam, you know what you was doing. But it made sense. Like, Naruto 100% would not have gone through with this if he would have known that only Kurama would have died. If he would have thought, like, it's my life, even though still technically Kurama dies with him, but, you know, he would have gone through with it, because he's like, yo, I said it from the day one of me wanting to be Hokage. I would die for this village. So basically, the only way to have gotten Naruto to agree to Baryon mode was to trick him into thinking that it's basically you giving up your life. And this is where a lot of things is going to change. And a lot of people, I understand the concerns. I understand how people feel in terms of, like, this arc itself was a major nerfing in order to make other characters seem more powerful now. Just being 100% honest with you, because Sasuke losing the Rinnegan and legendary eye technique, all of that jazz, he is weakened now. Naruto losing Kurama in this instance right here, even Kurama says, you're no longer superhuman, fam, so you need to relax on the way you're maneuvering or you're gonna be joining me soon. Yeah, they've been nerfed to no end, because those are the two major power-ups that I said it in my spoiler video. But throughout my entire time on YouTube talking about Naruto, I've had several discussion videos where I was like, well, what would Naruto be like without Kurama's power? What would Sasuke be like without the Sharingan? A little bit different, he still has a Sharingan, but the whole point being is that those were the things that gave them those extra boosts that at the end of the Naruto original manga made them godlike. Yeah, the Sage of Six Paths power could potentially be tapped into. I'm not sure exactly how that works. Also, there's still Sage mode for Naruto. Sasuke still has his, you know, Sharingan and shit like that. So there's still powers, but in terms of, like, combat wise, like, let's just say, because Code is probably nowhere near where Ishiki was. Even with all the power he has right now, he's probably nowhere near there. So now somebody like Code can definitely be 100% a threat, opposed to he would be a weakling if Naruto still had Kurama, because they just so freaking OP. And it's not like it's BS where it's like, well, they went on vacation and this is why, like, everything in the story led to this point to, yeah, it's a nerf, but it's a sensible nerf and everything had logic behind it. Like, the story actually progressed to this point and it was kind of like leading into it, opposed to just like bullshit happening in the first chapter of Boruto of like them both, you know, just disappearing. But going back into, you know, Kurama saying goodbye, he's like, until that day, be well. And this whole scene, when they animated, I know Studio Period, they botch a lot of things. They are 100,000% not going to watch this scene when Naruto is reaching out as Kurama saying goodbye, and then it transitions from him trying to reach out to Kurama, that he's reaching out to Boruto and Sasuke and them. And that's honestly such a powerful scene. One of my favorite. Like, this has biggest chapter, best chapter of Boruto of 2021 so far. Obviously, there's only 2 chapters, so big whoop. You know, great chapter, second chapter of the year or whatever, but that was emotional. Honestly, when I first read it, I had a little bit of a teary eye because I was like, God damn, yo. I think back to an interview where Kishimoto, this was probably 2017 now, he had said there's no limits to the Boruto story. Like, if people need to be killed off, even the older cast, it can happen. I remember talking about that interview, and yeah, we're seeing it. Kurama's a big deal. Like, that's a big deal. That wasn't only just like an imaginary fox in Naruto's head, so to speak. That was his friend. That was a major plot point throughout the entirety of the Naruto story. Naruto, you know, eventually taming him in Shippuden and shit like that. And the way it happened, that was like, you know, that was the homie that was there, even though they had beef at one given point. It's sad. And also, look at the visual representation, right? Because when Naruto comes to, don't forget that Kawaki still has his love in his heart for Naruto and all that stuff, but when Naruto comes to, it's Naruto, Boruto, and Sasuke all huddled up in one corner, and then Kawaki's just laid the fuck out on the side. So like, while Naruto has this deep love for, you know, Kawaki, and Boruto does have that brotherly bond that we've seen, it's real deep in this one, a little awkwardly deep. Pause. It still felt like it was symbolically showcasing that there's still a separation between them, that Kawaki isn't 100% accepted into the group yet. And Kawaki, being the sensible one, he's like, yo fam, all of this conversation right now is great, but can we have that after we get home? Which I noticed Kawaki saying home, so he's already accepted, and you know, in his heart, Konoha is home to him now. I found that to be interesting as well. And they start urging Boruto like, yo fam, use karma, open up a portal, let's get out of here. Sasuke says he can't use his Rinnegan anymore, so that confirms as well, not only Naruto lost Kurama, Sasuke 100% his Rinnegan is Rinnegan. And I'm going to retire that joke after this one because I've said it in like 3 months worth of videos. And it doesn't seem to be the case, and I'm glad, because for like maybe 2 or 3 pages it looked like Boruto was kind of blaming himself, and then immediately everybody starts tackling him. Like, Sasuke's like, yo, this is not your fault, don't even start that shit. Kawaki tells him the same thing. Like, they made sure to get past that real quick, opposed to, you know, that could have been a whole freaking arc of Boruto blaming himself, and it still could very well happen because we're just in the moment right now. Everybody's in shock as it is and whatnot, but I'm kind of glad that they skipped over that real quick. I mean, I could imagine they'll probably extend that in the anime of some sorts, because, you know, Boruto does look up to Sasuke, and the fact that he hurt and crippled his sensei is probably going to weigh on him. But at the very least right now, they were like, yo, Kawaki, the voice of reason, is like, yeah, let's talk about this later. Then we transition over to Code, the last living, true, breathing Kara member. He's waking up from a nap. The Ten Tails is still having a snooze as well, which you gotta think, like, yo, even though Ishiki's been defeated and Kawaki doesn't have the karma anymore and most of Kara has been decimated, there's still a Ten Tails. The Jubi's still here, you know, that's still a very, very big threat. And on top of that, the 2 gods of the 4th grade Shinobi War, Naruto and Sasuke, are very much so crippled. Like, I don't know how useful Naruto's going to be and what his combat strength is going to be like after this. So that right there in and of itself is a threat. Not to mention what we get to learn after the fact, but that's a very big threat to the Shinobi world. But we see that Code has apparently a white karma mark on his hand. He starts talking to himself basically that he wish he had a real karma mark. He's kind of, in a sense, you can see, jealous that Kawaki was able to be the vessel and he's apparently not capable of being the vessel. He even refers to it as a dud. And again, I will say that this kind of feels a little shoehorned in. I don't know, and I really wish we would get an idea of what has been changed as far as the future of the story goes with Kishimoto coming in, because we didn't get none of this characterization. Just being honest, like, the anime is adding that now, but with the manga, we never got none of this characterization of Code loving Ishiki Otsutsuki, you know, worshipping Ishiki Otsutsuki. We just really didn't get much at all from Code in the manga. So getting all of this now, it kind of feels like they should have definitely had this early on. But again, this might be all new ideas from Kishimoto that they're implementing into the anime now and implementing into the manga, because it might have not just been a thing. It might have been totally different. Who knows if one of the reasons, again, that they brought Kishimoto back in was Kodachi, the writer that was, you know, holding the helm of Boruto up until this point. Maybe he really was going to kill off Naruto and had a whole different vision, and it was Kishimoto that came in and said, yo, you put that pen down right now, motherfucker. Put that shit down. And maybe that's why things is going this direction. Maybe Code was actually not going to play this big of a role, or things were just going to be different. The relationship that's being characterized in this chapter between Code and Ishiki. Because Ishiki emerges, or his soul at the very least, emerges from the white karma mark on Code's hand, and he starts telling Code, like, yo, all these people betrayed me, Amado and them, I've been defeated. And he starts, like, kind of buttering up Code in a sense of saying, like, yo, the white karma mark is like my legacy, and the Otsutsuki Otsutsuki will, and telling him that, yo, you cannot let the Otsutsuki go extinct. Like, yo, you got to keep this legacy and will going, because they've been around for thousands of years. And one of the things I'm thinking is, so was Ishiki Otsutsuki the last living Otsutsuki? Like, does that mean that the Otsutsuki clan themselves are all completely done, which there wasn't that many that we've seen. We've seen, what was it, Kaguya, the two Momoshiki and Daishiki, Kinshiki, whatever, Ishiki, Toneri. Toneri's still, what, like technically frozen on the moon, or I forget if the manga had that or not, whatever. But like, that means that, yeah, the Otsutsuki clan is seemingly going to go extinct with the defeat of Ishiki, and he wants Code to keep it up. And then he starts feeding Code a plan, which all of this kind of seems obvious at this point. Like, okay, if Code is going to be the one to lead the charge for moving forward with this idea and whatnot, he tells him, yo, you gotta feed Kawaki or Boruto to the Ten Tails, get the chakra fruit, you eat the chakra fruit, become a god, travel throughout the, you know, universe to different planets and do the same shit. Basically giving him the blueprint of, you are now going to inherit the soul, legacy, and will of the Otsutsuki, and upon eating the fruit, apparently Code will get all the knowledge of the world, of Ishiki, everything that happened on this planet, and become an Otsutsuki himself. Which makes me wonder, you remember when Madara, and even Obito for that matter, when they absorbed the Ten Tails and shit like that, like, were they close to being an Otsutsuki at that point? Because I don't think they ate the fruit, right? So they didn't have the fruit or whatever, but does that make them closer to being an Otsutsuki? Because even going back to Kaguya's flashback, it wasn't until she ate that fruit that then she went absolutely batshit crazy and things like that. So I'm wondering if the closer you get in that realm of the Ten Tails and things like that, the closer you be to becoming an Otsutsuki. And when we saw that like statue looking thing when Ishiki was telling him about becoming a god and shit, is it just me, or did it seem like a Susanoo, and the visual kind of looks similar to things we've seen in Naruto before? Again, who knows, maybe it could have a connection, which again, it might just be artistically that it looks similar or whatnot, but kind of looked like a Susanoo with like the Sage of Six Paths, like all combined. And then we get more characterization of the relationship, which again, I wish we would have gotten sooner, of Code basically saying Ishiki was like a god to him, and he wants to make sure he makes the people who took him away from him pay. And he's like, please just give me the names of these people, which, I mean, you should know who it was. I mean, what, you think it was Denki and Iwabe from the Boruto fillers that took him away? Then we cut back to the good guy's side. Boruto is kind of scared of using the karma, and it's not allowing him to do it because he's basically scared of Momoshiki taking over, which is understandable because holy shit, using his powers has really messed me up, and I just took out Sasuke's eyes not even 5 minutes ago. And they've really been pushing this brotherly vibe between Boruto and Kawaki, which they've been doing this for a while now, ever since Kawaki went to the village or whatnot, because Kawaki keeps on trying to, like, you know, steer him in the right direction of how to use the power, and he tells him, yo, don't worry, at all costs I'm going to make sure I get the karma mark out of you, which is pushing forth their bond of how they really care about each other. And I've said this before and I'll say it again, in terms of creating that element and that true feel of them really caring for each other and having that bond, I think they're doing it better than, and I just gotta keep it real, than the Naruto and Sasuke bond that was supposedly there in the original Naruto. Because in the original Naruto, they went on like 2 missions, and then after that, it wasn't really much of them being together and shit like that. So I really appreciate the way they are constructing Kawaki and Boruto, so then when we get to that point that we see at the very first episode, first chapter of the story of them going at it, it's a lot more heartbreaking of like, yo, they really rocked with each other, what the hell happened, opposed to Naruto saved Sasuke one time and he called him a brother, and here we are. Oh, don't start telling me about those goddamn fillers and flashbacks of shit that never actually happened until after the fact, please. We get more dialogue of basically Kawaki saying how much he hates karma and wants to get rid of it in totality, and then eventually he does something where he starts screaming at Boruto and syncs with him in order to activate the space-time jutsu portal so that they can escape, which I didn't quite understand that, because again, yeah, Kawaki is like 80% Otsutsuki now, even though he doesn't have the karma anymore. So was that how he was able to like sync with him and create the portal? Also, was him getting Boruto upset what triggered Boruto? I think that was the case, and either way, yeah, they got out of the zone. And here's where another big major thing that I noticed, I was like, holy shit, because Katasuki and Amado, we cut to them, and Katasuki is talking about like, yo, I hope they're okay and things like that, and you can see that Amado does not give a shit. He's not paying attention. He says, well, what you said, which clearly I feel as though that this part of the chapter was indicating very heavy one of the theories that I've had since, like, I want to say early last year, maybe before that, I can't really remember, it's been a while, but Amado is clearly in it with his own ulterior motive. Maybe he wasn't rocking with Ishiki. Maybe he had his own plans of global conquest. Maybe he wants to eat the chakra fruit himself. Whatever it is, he definitely has his own vested interest, and especially it lies and resides with Kawaki, which I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, that part that we see at the beginning of the story with Kawaki as a grown adult, who knows if Amado is one of the people working with Kawaki at that point, because he seems like he looks at him almost as if like, ah yes, young master, like that's kind of how it comes across, as if Amado feels that way because he's just so worried about him. And even when Shikamaru tells everybody like, yo, they're back, the Otsutsuki's not there, everybody's here, and Amado is just like, oh, so Kawaki's okay, good. Oh, woo, woo! Let's not forget about Naruto, Sasuke, and the rest of them. Just, woo, Kawaki, the kid that I kidnapped and was doing all sorts of experiments on. I'm glad he's alright. And even Sumide notices. You know, the anime filler character that they worked into the canon of the manga? She noticed. And then we get this really cringy, awkward moment that is supposed to, and it does, add on to the bond and just showcase Boruto and Kawaki's bond, when Boruto's like, yo, I just feel like, Kawaki, when we're next to each other, like, yo, anything's possible. And fam, I used that line on my girlfriend when I was like in 6th grade. I don't think you should be saying that to a dude that you feel is like your brother and shit. Like, I get that they probably want to get the Fujoshi fandom wild and riled up for this shit, but come on. And in case you don't know what Fujoshi is, look it up before you say some wild shit. But it also builds for, again, the more that they have this bond, the harder it is going to rock when they split apart and Kawaki is on one side and Boruto on the other and they face off. And then the chapter ends with Code laying down, saying the names that basically he was given before Ishiki's soul evaporated: Kawaki, Amado, Sasuke, Naruto, and of course the vessel of Momoshiki, Boruto Uzumaki, which is basically his hit list. He's making a list, he's checking it twice, and he's getting them hit. And yeah, one other thing I wanted to add, and I'll probably have a whole other video for this, but one of the things I noticed is shortly after the, you know, goodbye and Kurama dying within Naruto, if you notice Naruto's character design, the whiskers are gone. And that really made me curious because Boruto has those whiskers and Himawari has those whiskers. So if Kurama's chakra dying within him made the whiskers go away, then that means that those whiskers are tied into Kurama's chakra. So that has to signify that Boruto and Himawari to some extent either have Kurama inside of them or some of Kurama's chakra. Which means even if, let's just say, they don't showcase him reincarnating somewhere else, he could very well just be inside of them and awaken. So there's something there for people that are heartbroken about the Kurama thing. It's still, like, nevertheless, seeing him die, very impactful shit. It's never going to be the same in terms of him being inside of Naruto, Naruto being the Jinchuriki, although, I guess to boot, Naruto will finally get some privacy in the bedroom with Hinata. Hey! But I'm very curious what you guys thought about this chapter. How did you feel about the death of the nine-tailed fox, Kurama? Did you cry? What did you think of it? Did you hate it? I know a lot of people had some strong resentments towards it. I just don't understand, like, yo, that is a really dope compromise of, okay, they didn't kill Naruto, but they still killed a very important character that drove the story of Naruto. The nine-tailed fox killed him off inside of Naruto. I think that was a big deal. And again, it's always going inside the theme that Kishimoto never wants to let go of. Sasuke lost something, Naruto lost something. Sasuke gained something, Naruto gained something. And it's the case here again. Your thoughts on Code and the role he's going to play moving forward? How you think this is going to lead all into the time skip? Because the time skip is inevitable. They said at the end of last year it's almost here, so I can only imagine another few chapters before we jump into that bad boy. If we're here now and everything has pretty much been resolved, we see what Code is planning and everything. Like, another chapter or two, I could only imagine, is what it's going to take to lead into a time skip. It's just a matter of how many years, which I think it would be good to have a few years, maybe 3 to 5 years, because Boruto looks significantly older in that time skip look that we've seen. And your thoughts and expectations for Boruto with chapter 56 and beyond. It's going to be another grueling, agonizing wait, but nevertheless, Boruto manga, one of the most important chapters, one of the most iconic chapters. If you're a Naruto fan, you do not want to miss this chapter because it's crucial. So I have for this one though. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or enjoyed the video, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you want more from me, make sure to subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram. Hit that bell to get all notifications. And if you want to follow any of my other social media, links in the description below. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day. And remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life. Bye. Have an awesome day. Peace in. And for the one more time, R.I.P. Kurama, the nine-tailed fox. It's been one hell of a journey, and hopefully your mission wasn't in vain and we get to see you one more time. Have an awesome one, people. You